3 months after the Battle of Pristinia, the Crystal Towers hosted the largest gathering in Velen history. Representatives from 47 different civilizations filled the council chamber. Some came in person. Others appeared as holograms from across the galaxy. All of them were here for the same reason, to discuss what to do about humanity. Ambassador Tai Yang sat at the human delegation table. Admiral Hana sat beside him, along with Commander Jiho and Captain Yuna. They were the only humans in a room full of aliens. Some of the aliens watched them with gratitude, others watched with fear. A few watched with suspicion. Elder Trellix of the Trellix hierarchy stood to address the assembly. He was ancient, his skin wrinkled and gray, his eyes wise from centuries of experience. The Trellix were one of the founding species of galactic civilization. When they spoke, others listened. "We face an unprecedented situation," Trellix began. "For the first time in recorded history, a species from a Class 12 death world has achieved interstellar travel and military capability. Humanity has demonstrated both the capacity for violence and the restraint to use it only in defense of others. The question before us is simple: what do we do now?" A representative from the Syndicate Collective spoke up. She was a traitor, focused on profit and stability. "The humans are dangerous. Their biology gives them advantages in combat that we cannot match. Their ships are stronger. Their weapons are effective. Their soldiers are faster and stronger than ours. We must contain them before they become a threat." Counselor Vishana's lights flashed angry red. "Contain them? The humans saved us when no one else would. They asked for nothing in return. They are rebuilding our defenses and then they plan to leave. How is that a threat? Today they protect," the Syndicate representative argued. "Tomorrow they conquer. That's how power works. Give them time and they will dominate us all." Captain Yuna stood up. Her movement was sudden and drew everyone's attention. In the reduced gravity of Pristinia, she seemed to tower over the other species. "With respect," Yuna said, her voice hard. "You're confusing capacity with intent. Yes, humans are good at fighting. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We had to be good at fighting or we would have died. But being good at something doesn't mean we want to do it all the time." She looked around the chamber. Every species here became civilized by overcoming their base instincts. "You think humans are the only ones with a violent past? We're just more recent. We remember what it took to survive. We remember the cost of fighting. And because we remember, we value peace more than you do." Commander Jiho added, "Earth has been a unified world for 50 years. Before that we fought each other. Wars. Terrible wars that killed millions. We learned from that. We learned that fighting should be the last option, not the first. We learned that protecting others is better than conquering them." A small voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It was the young Velen who had asked Captain Yuna why humans had come to help. His lights pulsed in innocent greens. "The humans are not scary," the young Velen said. "They are kind. When we were afraid, they made us feel safe. When we had no hope, they gave us hope. Why are you all trying to make them leave? We want them to stay." Trellix held up a hand for silence. "The young one speaks truth. I have reviewed every interaction between humans and other species. In 70 years of space travel, humanity has never started a war. They have never conquered a world. They have never enslaved another species. The only time they have used violence is when responding to distress calls." "That's my point," the Syndicate representative said. "They respond to every distress call. What happens when they decide someone needs help who doesn't want it? What happens when they decide to save us from ourselves?" Admiral Hana finally spoke. She had been quiet until now, letting her officers explain, but this question needed her answer. "That won't happen," Hana said simply, "because we understand the difference between helping and controlling. When we arrived at Pristinia, the Velens expected us to conquer them. That's what every other species in this galaxy does. The strong dominate the weak, but humans don't think that way. We help those who ask for help. We protect those who need protection, but we don't force our way of life on anyone." She stood and walked to the center of the chamber. "I understand your fear. You've built a galactic civilization based on self-interest. Everyone takes care of themselves. The strong survive and the weak serve. Then humans show up and break all your rules. We help for free. We fight for strangers. We ask for nothing in return. That scares you because you don't understand it." Hana looked directly at the Syndicate representative. "But here's what you need to understand. Humanity isn't going away. We're part of the galaxy now. You can try to contain us and that will make us your enemy. Or you can work with us and that will make us your ally. Choose wisely. The chamber fell silent. Every representative was thinking about the same thing. The Battle of Pristinia. 73 Kraith ships destroyed in 47 minutes. 5 human casualties. The math was terrifying. Trellick spoke again. I propose a different solution. Not containment. Not confrontation. But cooperation. Let us create something new. Something that has never existed in galactic history. He pulled up a holographic document. I call it the Deathworld Compact. A mutual defense treaty with humanity at its center. The terms are simple. Humanity agrees to respond to legitimate distress calls from member civilizations. In return, the galactic community provides Earth with technology, resources, and diplomatic recognition. We treat humanity not as a threat to be contained, but as a protector to be supported. You want us to pay them to protect us? A merchant prince objected. No, Trellick said. I want us to support them while they do what they already do for free. The humans will answer distress calls whether we help them or not. We saw that at Pristinia, but if we support them, we can work together. We can share intelligence. We can coordinate responses. We can build something better than the current system where the strong prey on the weak. Vishana's lights pulsed bright yellow. I support this proposal. The Velen Confederacy votes yes. One by one, other civilizations added their support. Not all of them. The Syndicate abstained. A few smaller empires voted no, fearing the change. But 31 civilizations voted yes. Enough to make the compact official. Ambassador Taeyang looked at the document. It wasn't perfect. There would be problems. There would be misunderstandings. Some species would try to abuse the system, calling for help when they didn't need it. Others would refuse to ask for help even when they did need it. But it was a start. It was something new. For the first time in galactic history, a treaty based on mutual protection instead of mutual exploitation. Earth accepts, Taeyang said formally. We'll honor this compact. The signing ceremony took 3 hours. Each civilization added their mark to the document in their own way. The Velens touched it with light. The Trellaks pressed it with their palms. The humans used an old-fashioned ink pen because some traditions were worth keeping. When it was done, Hana stood and addressed the assembly one last time. Let me be very clear about what Earth is promising, she said. We will answer distress calls from compact members. We will help defend against aggressors. We will train your people in defensive tactics if you want us to, but we will not conquer. We will not rule. We will not tell you how to live your lives. We're not here to build an empire. We're here to make sure bullies don't destroy civilizations that just want to live in peace. A representative from a small species called the Vril raised a tentacle. But what if we call for help and you're too far away? What if you can't reach us in time? Then we'll come as fast as we can, Hana said. And we'll make sure whoever hurt you regrets it. That's the promise. Not that we'll always arrive in time, but that will always come. You will never be alone again. That's what the compact means. The meeting ended. Representatives returned to their ships, carrying news of the compact to their homeworlds. Some were excited. Some were worried. All of them knew that the galaxy had changed forever. Captain Yuna stood on the landing platform watching the alien ships depart. Lieutenant Soman joined her, carrying a datapad with reports from Earth. People back home are calling us heroes, Soman said. They're celebrating in every city. The Velens have already named 3 of their moons after human ships. We're not heroes, Yuna said quietly. We just did what was right. Maybe that's what heroes are, Soman suggested. People who do what's right even when it's hard. Far across the galaxy, on 17 worlds that had been conquered by the Kraith, rebellions continued to grow. The Dominion tried to crush them, but the message had already spread. The Kraith could be beaten. The strong were not invincible. Hope was possible, and on every one of those worlds, the rebels looked up at the stars and whispered one word: humans. On Earth, Lieutenant Minho visited the families of the 5 soldiers who had died at Pristinia. He brought them medals. He brought them the gratitude of the Velen people. He brought them the knowledge that their loved ones had saved an entire civilization. Was it worth it? One mother asked, tears in her eyes. My son died for aliens we never met. Was it worth it? Minho thought carefully before answering. The landing bay on Pristinia was filled with Velens, thousands of them, their crystalline bodies pulsing with colors that had never been seen before. The translator software struggled to find words for the emotions they were displaying. Something between gratitude, awe, and deep fear. Ambassador Taeyang walked beside Counselor Vishana as the human Marines returned from the captured Kraith ships. Captain Yuna led her troops down the ramp. Her armor was scorched in places, dented in others. She had been in close combat with Kraith soldiers and she had won. Vishana's lights flickered rapidly, unable to settle on one color. "You destroyed them," she said, and the translator software made her voice sound shaky. "The Kraith Dominion has conquered 18 star systems. They have never been defeated. Never. In 300 years of expansion, no one has stopped them. And you destroyed their entire fleet in less than an hour." Taeyang nodded slowly. "They were bullies, Counselor. And humans don't like bullies. We especially don't like bullies who pick on people who can't fight back." A young Velen, barely more than a child, approached cautiously. His lights pulsed in curious greens and yellows. He reached out with a crystalline appendage and touched Yuna's armored leg. The armor was still warm from re-entry. "Why?" the young Velen asked, the translator making his voice sound innocent and confused. "Why did you come? We are nothing to you. We have no military. We have no resources you need. We cannot repay this debt. Why would you risk your lives for us?" Yuna knelt down, bringing herself closer to the young Velen's level. In the reduced gravity of Pristinia, the movement was easy and graceful. "Because you needed help," she said simply. "That's all the reason we needed." The concept clearly confused the young Velen. He looked at his elders for explanation. But the adult Velens were just as confused. Admiral Hana met with the Velen Council in the crystal chamber. The counselors sat in a semicircle, their lights dim with exhaustion. The siege had lasted 4 days. They had been certain they were going to die. Now they were alive and they didn't understand why. "Admiral Hana," Vishana began. "We must discuss terms," Hana frowned. "Terms?" "Yes, the terms of our surrender to Earth. You saved us. By every law of galactic civilization, we now belong to you. You may claim our world, our resources, our people. We ask only that you be merciful in your conquest." For a moment, Hana just stared at the Velen counselor. Then she understood. In galactic civilization, power was everything. The strong took from the weak. Protection always came with a price. The Velens had no framework for understanding what humanity had done. "Counselor Vishana," Hana said carefully, "we don't want your world. We don't want your resources. We don't want to rule you. We came because you asked for help. That's all." The Velen's lights pulsed in confusion. "But you must want something," another counselor insisted. "Species don't risk their lives for nothing. What is your price? What do you demand from us?" Hana thought for a moment. "Okay, here's what we want. We'll stay in your system for 3 months. We'll help you rebuild your defense satellites. We'll train some of your people in basic defense tactics, just enough so you're not completely helpless. We'll share some of our shield technology so your stations can at least slow down an attacker. After 3 months, we'll go home." "That's it? That's it?" Vishana's lights went completely white, the Velen equivalent of shock. "You ask for no territory? No resources? No tribute? No vassalage?" "No," Hana said. "We just want to make sure you're safe. Then we'll leave you alone to live your lives however you want." The old counselor who had spoken in the first meeting leaned forward. "This is unprecedented. In 10,000 years of galactic history, no species has ever acted this way. The strong always dominate the weak. That is the nature of civilization. Maybe that's the nature of galactic civilization," Hana said, "but it's not the nature of human civilization. We learned a long time ago that the only way to survive is to help each other. That lesson doesn't stop being true just because we left our planet." While the Velens tried to process this information, the rest of the galaxy was watching the battle recordings. On the Trelax homeworld, the Hierarchy Council gathered to watch the footage. They were one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy, ancient and wise. They had seen empires rise and fall for thousands of years, but they had never seen anything like this. "Replay the section where the human ships scatter," Elder Trelax commanded. The hologram showed the moment the human fleet broke formation. The ships accelerated at speeds that made the Trelax gasp. 9Gs, 10Gs, and some maneuvers. The humans were putting their crews through forces that would kill any other species. "How is this possible?" a younger counselor asked. "Those acceleration rates should liquefy organic tissue." "Look at their planet classification," Trelax said. "Class 12 Deathworld. They evolved in 1.0 gravity. Their bodies are designed to handle forces that would crush us. What kills us is merely uncomfortable to them. Another counselor pulled up the close combat footage. Sergeant Doyen fighting Kraith soldiers. The human moved so fast that the Kraith couldn't react. His strikes bent armor plating. They're predators, the counselor whispered. True predators. And we've been sharing the galaxy with them without realizing what they are. Are they a threat? Someone asked. Trellix watched Hana's conversation with the Velans. No, that's what makes them so unique. They have the capability to be the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known, but they choose not to be. They choose to protect instead of conquer. That makes them either the wisest species we've ever encountered, or the most dangerous. In the Syndicate Collective, the merchant princes watched the battle with different eyes. They saw opportunity. The humans used kinetic weapons, one merchant said. Simple railguns. Nothing fancy. But they completely bypassed Kraith shields. Do you understand what this means? It means every ship in the galaxy is vulnerable, another merchant responded. Shields are designed to stop energy weapons. No one uses kinetic weapons because they're considered primitive. The humans just proved that primitive works. We need to establish trade with Earth immediately. If we could license their railgun technology, retrofit our ships. Or, a third merchant interrupted, we could make sure we never make an enemy of humanity. Did you see how fast they responded to the Velan distress call? 3 weeks across the galaxy. They arrived before the Kraith could finish their conquest. That's not normal military response time. That's desperation to help. The Kraith Dominion was in chaos. Fleet Master Corvin had returned home with less than half his fleet. The survivors told stories that sounded impossible. Humans moving at impossible speeds. Weapons that ignored shields. Soldiers who fought with strength that seemed supernatural. The Dominion High Command gathered to decide their response. We must retaliate, one general insisted. We cannot allow this insult to stand. The humans humiliated us. We must strike at their homeworld. The intelligence director stood up. With respect, General, that would be suicide. I've reviewed every second of the battle footage. The humans weren't fighting at full strength. They were holding back. They could have destroyed our entire fleet in the first 10 minutes if they had wanted to. They gave us an hour to retreat. They gave us a chance to save our people's lives. What are you saying? I'm saying we got lucky. We attacked someone the humans care about, and they showed us mercy we didn't deserve. If we attack Earth, there will be no mercy. There will only be extinction. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact. Do not engage humanity militarily. Fleet Master Corvin spoke quietly from the back of the room. They're not like us. They're not like anyone. Their planet tried to kill them every day for millions of years, and they survived by becoming something different. Something we can't fight. Something we shouldn't fight. The message spread across the galaxy through 1,000 channels. Species that had never heard of humanity suddenly learned everything about them. About Earth, about Deathworlders, about a species that answered distress calls and asked for nothing in return. On 17 worlds conquered by the Kraith, people watched the battle recordings. They saw the Kraith fleet destroyed. They saw humans fighting for aliens they barely knew, and they began to wonder, if the Kraith can be defeated, why are we still under their rule? Rebellion started on 3 worlds within a week. The Kraith Dominion, built on fear and the appearance of invincibility, began to crack. And in orbit around Pristinia, Admiral Hana sat in her quarters, writing letters to the families of the 5 humans who had died in the battle. 5 people who would never go home because they had chosen to help strangers in need. That was the price of being human. The price of answering every call for help. Hana finished the letters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species were suffering. Other civilizations needed help, and humanity would answer, because that's what humans did. Fleet Master Corvin stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the siege of Pristinia with satisfaction. The Kraith Dominion had never failed to conquer a target, and this would be no different. The Velan defense satellites were almost gone. Their pathetic attempts at military resistance had lasted less than 3 days. The Velans were soft, weak. They had built their civilization on art and trade, never understanding that the universe belonged to the strong. Soon Pristinia would belong to the Kraith Dominion, and the Velans would serve as workers in their new empire. Status report, Corvin commanded. His tactical officer responded immediately. 92% of defense satellites destroyed. The remaining satellites will be eliminated within 6 hours. Velen ships have retreated to orbit around their capital world. They're not even attempting to fight anymore. Good, Corvin said. Begin preparing for orbital bombardment. Target their government buildings first. Once their leadership surrenders, the rest will follow. The Kraith had perfected this strategy over dozens of conquests. Overwhelming force, calculated destruction, inevitable surrender. It was efficient and it worked every time. Then the sensor officer made a sound. It was a small sound, barely noticeable, but on a Kraith military bridge where discipline was absolute, any unexpected sound meant something was wrong. Fleetmaster, the sensor officer said, his voice uncertain. New contacts. Multiple ships just entered the system. They came out of hyperspace at coordinate 77 Alpha. Corvin frowned. Which civilization? Has someone finally decided to interfere? The Trelax? The Syndicate? The sensor officer checked his display 3 times before answering. No, sir. The identification codes say humanity, from the Sol system, Earth. Earth? Corvin pulled up the database entry. His secondary heart skipped when he saw the planetary classification. A Class 12 death world? That's impossible. No sentient species can evolve on a world rated that dangerous. But the sensors didn't lie. 12 capital ships, 40 cruisers, and more than 100 smaller vessels had just appeared in the system. They were arranged in a formation that Corvin didn't recognize. Not the standard wall formation most civilizations used. Not the sphere formation the Trelax preferred. The human ships were spread out, moving independently. On the flagship Indomitable, Admiral Hanna looked at the tactical display. The Kraith fleet was exactly where intelligence had said it would be. 200 ships surrounding Pristinia like predators circling wounded prey. Commander Jiho, Hanna said calmly. Open a channel to the Kraith flagship. The channel opened. Corvin's face appeared on the screen. He was tall with 4 arms and thick armored skin. His expression showed confidence and slight annoyance. This is Fleetmaster Corvin of the Kraith Dominion, he said. Humanity, we have no quarrel with your primitive species. This sector is now Kraith territory by right of conquest. I suggest you return to your isolated world before you get hurt. Hanna's expression didn't change. This is Fleet Admiral Hanna of the United Earth Defense Force. You are hereby ordered to stand down and withdraw from Velen space immediately. You have 1 hour to begin your retreat. There was a moment of silence. Then Corvin laughed. It was a harsh sound that came from all 4 of his lungs. 1 hour? You bring 12 capital ships against our 200 and give me 1 hour to retreat? Your species' reputation as Deathworlders won't save you from simple mathematics, human. You are outnumbered 16 to 1. Leave now, or your ships will be destroyed along with the Velens. Hanna leaned forward slightly. Fleetmaster, you have 1 hour. I suggest you use it to save your people's lives. Because after that hour is up, we will remove you by force. The channel closed. Captain Yuna, standing beside Hanna, cracked her knuckles. The sound of bone on bone was loud in the quiet bridge. Think they'll leave, Admiral? No, Hanna said. They're used to winning through intimidation and numbers. They don't understand what we are yet, but they will. Exactly 1 hour later, the Kraith fleet advanced. They moved in their standard formation. 200 ships arranged in a wall, overlapping their shields to create a nearly impenetrable barrier. It was a formation that had won them 17 major battles. They advanced slowly, confidently, expecting the humans to either run or surrender. The human fleet did neither. All ships, Hanna commanded. Execute pattern Delta 7. Weapons free. The human fleet suddenly broke apart. 12 battle groups scattered in different directions, accelerating at speeds that made Corvin's tactical display light up with warnings. They're moving too fast, the Kraith sensor officer said. Those speeds should tear their ships apart. The G-forces alone should kill their crews. But the human ships held together. Built on Earth where everything had to withstand crushing gravity and extreme conditions, they were stronger than any galactic ship. And the crews inside weren't dying from the G-forces. They were uncomfortable, pressed into their seats by acceleration that would turn a Kraith into paste, but alive and functioning. Lieutenant Minho sat in the cockpit of his fighter, leading Fox Squadron through the Kraith formation. The G-forces pushed at him, making every movement difficult. 9 Gs in a turn that should have been impossible, but Minho had trained his whole life on Earth, where gravity never let up. 9 Gs was painful but manageable. Fox Squadron, break formation, Minho ordered. Pick your targets and engage. 30 human fighters scattered like a school of fish weaving through the Kraith ships. The Kraith tried to target them, but the humans moved too fast. Their reaction times were too quick. Evolution on a death world had given them reflexes that the Kraith couldn't match. On the Indomitable, Commander Jiho coordinated the attack. Admiral, Kraith shields are performing as expected. They're designed to deflect energy weapons. Plasma, lasers, particle beams, all bouncing off or dispersing. Then switch to kinetics, Hana ordered. The human ships stopped firing energy weapons. Instead, railguns spun up to speed. These were simple weapons by galactic standards. Just metal slugs accelerated by electromagnetic force. Primitive, basic, absolutely devastating. The first tungsten rod hit a Kraith shield at 5% the speed of light. The shield, designed to deflect energy, had no defense against solid matter moving that fast. The rod punched through the shield like it wasn't there, hit the ship's hull and tore through 3 decks before exploding out the other side. The Kraith ship died in seconds. Impossible, Corvin shouted. Their weapons are primitive. How are they penetrating our shields? His tactical officer tried to explain. Fleetmaster, their weapons are kinetic, not energy-based. Our shields aren't designed to stop solid projectiles. We never needed to defend against such basic weapons. Another Kraith ship exploded. Then another. The human ships darted through the formation like sharks, firing railguns that turned shields into useless decorations. All ships, return fire, Corvin commanded. Concentrate on the human capital ships. The Kraith fleet responded, firing plasma cannons at the Indomitable. The plasma hit the ship's shields and was deflected. When it did hit the hull, it scorched the armor but didn't penetrate. Human ships were built to survive re-entry through Earth's atmosphere, where friction created temperatures that would melt most galactic vessels. Captain Yuna watched the battle from the marine deck. Admiral, 3 Kraith ships are disabled but intact. Permission to board? Granted, Hana said. Show them what close combat means. Yuna led her Marines onto boarding craft. These small ships were designed for one purpose, punching through enemy hulls and depositing soldiers inside. Within minutes, they had breached the Kraith command ship. The Kraith soldiers inside were elite warriors. They carried plasma rifles and wore heavy armor. They had trained for years in combat. They had conquered 18 star systems. Then Sergeant Do Yun came through the breach. The corridor was in artificial gravity, set to standard galactic level of 0.6 Earth gravity. To the Kraith it felt normal. To Do Yun it felt like he was floating. He moved through the corridor so fast that the Kraith barely saw him. His fist connected with a Kraith soldier's chest plate, and the armor crumpled. On Earth, Do Yun trained by punching concrete. Kraith armor was softer than concrete. They're too fast. A Kraith soldier screamed into his communicator. They move like nothing I've ever seen. Captain Yuna entered the corridor. She didn't bother with her weapon. These Kraith soldiers had never fought anyone who could match their strength. They had certainly never fought anyone stronger. Yuna grabbed a Kraith rifle and bent the barrel with her bare hands. Where's your bridge? She asked. The Kraith soldier stared at her in terror and pointed. Back in space, the battle was turning into a massacre. 73 Kraith ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest of the fleet was in chaos. Their formation had broken. Their shields were useless. Their weapons couldn't penetrate human armor. Corvin watched his tactical display in horror as ship after ship went dark. 47 minutes. The battle had lasted only 47 minutes, and his fleet was destroyed. All ships, he ordered, his voice shaking. Retreat! Full speed. Get us out of this system. The surviving Kraith ships turned and fled. They jumped to hyperspace as fast as their engines could manage, leaving behind their disabled vessels and any idea of conquering Pristinia. The war room on Earth was buried deep underground, protected by layers of concrete and steel. Admiral Hana stood in the center, surrounded by holographic displays that showed star maps, fleet positions, and tactical data. Officers rushed back and forth, preparing for the largest military operation humanity had ever attempted outside their own solar system. Commander Jiho approached with a data pad in his hands. He was Hana's chief tactical officer, responsible for planning every detail of space combat operations. His face was serious as he pulled up information about the enemy. Admiral, we have the full intelligence report on the Kraith Dominion, Jiho said. He projected the data onto the main display. 200 warships confirmed. Maybe 20 more support vessels. Their technology is advanced. Plasma cannons that can cut through most shielding. Quantum defensive shields that can deflect energy weapons. Their ships are fast and well-armed. Captain Yuna joined them. She commanded the Marine Corps, the soldiers who would board enemy ships and fight face-to-face if needed. She studied the tactical display with experienced eyes. What about the Kraith themselves? Yuna asked. What kind of enemy are we facing? Jiho switched the display to show biological data. A three-dimensional image of a Kraith warrior appeared. They were tall, about 7 feet, with 4 arms and thick armor-like skin. Their homeworld was called Kraithos, a stable planet with moderate gravity and few environmental challenges. The Kraith evolved on a world with 0.9 Earth gravity, Jiho explained. Stable weather, no major predators, no tectonic activity. They're strong by galactic standards and they're good soldiers. They've conquered 18 star systems in the last decade. No one has been able to stop them. Lieutenant Somin from Intelligence added more information. Admiral, the Kraith fight like chess players. They calculate odds. They use strategy and overwhelming numbers. When they know they're going to win, they attack. When they know they're going to lose, they surrender. It's all mathematics to them. Hana studied the Kraith image carefully. Then she switched the display to show Earth's data file. The contrast was immediate and striking. Earth rotated on the screen, blue and green and beautiful. But the planetary classification told a different story. Class 12 Deathworld, one of the most dangerous inhabited planets in the known galaxy. 0.9 gravity versus 1.0 gravity, Hana said quietly. Doesn't sound like much difference, does it? But let's look at everything else. Earth has earthquakes that can destroy cities, volcanic eruptions that change the climate, hurricanes with winds that reach 200 miles per hour, tornadoes, tsunamis, floods, droughts. She pulled up more data. Our planet has deadly animals, sharks, bears, big cats, venomous snakes and spiders. We have diseases that evolve constantly, forcing our immune systems to adapt or die. We have bacteria and viruses that have killed millions of us throughout history. Jiho nodded slowly, beginning to understand. The Kraith evolved in a safe environment. They became intelligent because they had time to think and plan. We became intelligent because we had to. Every single day on Earth was a fight to survive. Exactly, Hana said. Look at our bodies compared to theirs. We have dense bones to handle our gravity, powerful muscles built from constantly fighting our planet's pull. Our reaction times are faster because on Earth the predators were fast. Our immune systems are aggressive because our diseases are aggressive. We even see better in different light conditions because Earth has extreme weather that changes visibility. Yuna smiled, and there was something dangerous in that smile. The Kraith think they're warriors, but they've never fought anyone who evolved on a world that was trying to kill them every single day. Soman pulled up combat records from the Kraith conquests. Look at their battle tactics, Admiral. They line up their ships in formation. They exchange fire at medium range. When one side loses 30% of their forces, they usually surrender. It's efficient. It's logical. It's completely predictable. And that's their weakness, Hana said. They fight like they're playing a game with rules. But humans, we fight to win. We don't care about the rules. We care about survival. She turned to face her officers. The Kraith have 200 ships. We're taking 12 battle groups. That's 12 capital ships, 40 cruisers, and about 120 smaller vessels. On paper, they outnumber us. In reality, Hana pulled up combat simulations that the tactical computers had run. In reality, our ships are built to survive Earth's gravity during construction and launch. That means stronger hulls, stronger structural supports. We can maneuver harder and faster without tearing ourselves apart. Our weapons are designed to punch through atmosphere and hit targets in extreme weather. Our railguns are primitive by galactic standards, but they hit with kinetic force that energy shields weren't designed to stop. Jiho added another point. Our pilots can handle higher G-forces during combat maneuvers. Most galactic species black out at 5 or 6 Gs. Our pilots train at 9 Gs regularly. In a dogfight, that's the difference between life and death. What about the Velans? Yuna asked. Will they be able to help at all? Hana shook her head. No, they're peaceful. They have no military experience. Their defense satellites are basically automated, and the Kraith will destroy those in the first hour. The Velans are depending entirely on us. Good, Yuna said. Then they won't get in our way. Hana looked around at her officers. These were good people, trained, professional, and ready to risk their lives for aliens they had never met. That was humanity in a nutshell, always ready to help, always willing to fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves. I want to be clear about something, Hana said. We're going into this battle outnumbered. The Kraith have conquered half the quadrant. They're experienced, well-equipped, and confident. They think they've already won. That gives us an advantage, but it doesn't make this safe. Some of us might not come home. No one spoke. Every officer in the room understood the risks. They had volunteered for this knowing they might die. But here's what the Kraith don't understand, Hana continued. They don't understand what it means to be human. They grew up on a safe world. We grew up on a planet that invented 1,000 ways to kill us, and we survived every single one. They became spacefaring because they wanted to explore. We became spacefaring because we refused to be contained. They fight because it's profitable. We fight because it's right. She pointed at the star map showing Pristinia and the approaching Kraith fleet. Someone sent out a distress call. Someone asked for help. That's all we need to know. The Velans need us, and we don't abandon people who need help. That's not a military strategy. That's not politics. That's just being human. Jiho straightened. All battle groups report ready, Admiral. We can launch in 4 hours. Make it 3, Hana said. The Velans don't have much time. I want to arrive before the Kraith start their bombardment. Full speed, maximum jump distance. We're going to get there, and we're going to show the Kraith Dominion what happens when they pick on someone who can't fight back. Yuna saluted. Yes, Admiral. My Marines are ready. If we need to board their ships, we'll show them what close combat against humans really means. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Hana said. But if it does, make sure they remember. Make sure every species in this galaxy remembers what happened when they forced Earth to go to war. The officers dispersed to their duties. Hana stood alone for a moment, looking at the display showing Earth, her home. A beautiful, deadly, amazing world that had created the toughest species in the galaxy, simply by being itself. The Kraith thought they were conquerors. They thought they were the strongest military force in their region of space. They had never met humans before. They were about to learn why species from Deathworlds were supposed to stay isolated, not because they were dangerous to the galaxy, but because when they decided to fight, they fought with everything they had, every survival instinct, every bit of strength, every ounce of determination that had kept them alive on a planet that should have killed them. 3 hours later, 12 human battle groups launched from Earth. The ships disappeared into hyperspace, racing toward Pristinia at speeds that pushed the limits of their engines. The Velans were waiting. The Kraith were coming, and between them, humanity was about to remind the galaxy what the word Deathworlder really meant. The crystal towers of Pristinia gleamed under 3 suns. The Velan homeworld had never known war. For thousands of years, the Velans had lived in peace, creating art and music, studying the stars, trading with neighboring species. Their bodies were made of living crystal that caught the light and turned it into beautiful colors. They spoke through light pulses, each color meaning something different. Ambassador Taeyang stood in the council chamber, watching the Velan leaders argue. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the crystal floor. The Velans had built everything for their light bodies, not for humans who came from a world with strong gravity. Taeyang was the only human on Pristinia. Earth had sent him 2 years ago to represent humanity in this sector of the galaxy. The Velans were afraid. Taeyang could see it in the way their lights flickered and dimmed. On the massive display screen, red dots showed enemy ships moving closer. The Kraith Dominion was coming. They had already destroyed 2 Velan colonies on the outer worlds. Now they were coming for Pristinia itself. Counselor Veshana, the leader of the Velan Confederacy, turned her crystalline body toward the other council members. Her light patterns pulsed in worried orange and dark blue. The translator device converted her lights into words that Taeyang could understand. We have tried everything, Veshana said. We offered them trade agreements. We offered them territory. We offered them resources. They want only one thing: complete surrender. Another counselor, his crystal body old and clouded, spoke up. We have no military. We have never needed one. Our defense satellites can barely slow down a single warship. The Kraith have 200 ships approaching our system. What about the other civilizations? A younger counselor asked. The Trellix hierarchy. The Syndicate Collective? Surely they will not allow the Kraith to destroy us. Veshana's lights turned dark purple, the color of deep sadness. I have contacted them all. The Trellix say this is not their concern. The Syndicate says that interfering would be bad for business. The merchant guilds have already begun negotiating trade deals with the Kraith, assuming they will control this sector soon. Silence filled the chamber. Even the constant humming of the crystal wall seemed to grow quiet. Then we must send a distress call, Vishana said finally. A universal broadcast on all frequencies. Perhaps someone will answer. Perhaps someone in this vast galaxy still believes in helping those who cannot help themselves. The old counselor's lights flickered weakly. No one will come, Vishana. You know this. The strong do not help the weak in our galaxy. They never have. That is not how the universe works. Taeyang had been quiet until now, but he stepped forward. His footsteps echoed in the chamber. The Velans all turned their attention to him, their lights pulsing in curious yellows and greens. Counselor Vishana, Taeyang said. His voice was rough compared to the gentle light speech of the Velans. Send the distress call. I need to make a communication to Earth. Vishana's lights showed confusion. Ambassador Taeyang, your species is new to the galactic community. You have been in space for less than a century. Surely you understand that no one will answer our call. Your Earth is far away. What can one world do against the Kraith Dominion? Taeyang looked at the display screen showing the approaching enemy fleet. 200 warships. The Kraith had conquered 18 star systems in 10 years. They were ruthless, efficient, and they never showed mercy. Every species in the galaxy feared them. But Taeyang was human, and humans saw things differently. You don't know my people very well, Counselor, Taeyang said quietly. Humanity has one rule that we never break. When someone sends a distress call, we answer. It doesn't matter if we're strong enough. It doesn't matter if it's dangerous. It doesn't matter if we barely know you. You called for help, and that means we come. The Velan's lights pulsed in confusion. The concept seemed foreign to them. In galactic civilization, species only helped others when there was profit or strategic advantage. The idea of helping simply because it was right seemed almost primitive to them. But why? Asked a young counselor. What do you gain from this? We have nothing to offer Earth. Our military knowledge is non-existent. Our technology is inferior to yours. What possible reason would your people have to risk their lives for us? Taeyang smiled, though the Velans couldn't understand the human expression. On Earth, we have an old saying, no one gets left behind. My planet is dangerous, Counselor. Really dangerous. Violent storms, earthquakes, volcanoes, dangerous animals, diseases that constantly change. Humans survived because we learned to help each other. We learned that the only way to survive is to stand together. That's not just true for humans helping humans. It's true for everyone. He walked to the communication panel. Send your distress call, Counselor. Broadcast it on every frequency. Let the whole galaxy hear that you need help. And while you do that, I'm going to contact Earth Defense Command. Vishana hesitated, her lights flickering between hope and doubt. Finally, she pulsed a command to her staff. Within moments, the distress call went out across the stars. A simple message. We are the Velan Confederacy. We face extinction. We ask for help from any who will listen. Please, if anyone can hear this, we are dying. The message repeated in 100 languages on 1,000 frequencies, spreading out through space at the speed of light. Taeyang opened a secure channel to Earth. The quantum communication meant there was no delay despite the distance. A face appeared on his screen. Admiral Hana, the leader of Earth's Rapid Response Fleet. She looked tired. She had been in a meeting when Taeyang's priority signal came through. Ambassador Taeyang, Hana said, I'm seeing the distress call. Give me the situation. Taeyang quickly explained everything. The Kraith Dominion, the approaching fleet, the Velan's complete lack of military capability, the fact that no other civilization was willing to help. Hana listened without interrupting. When Taeyang finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward, and Taeyang could see the determination in her eyes. 200 ships? She asked. Yes, Admiral. Maybe more. The Velan sensors aren't military grade. There could be support vessels they haven't detected. And the Velans are good people. They're worth saving. Taeyang didn't hesitate. Yes, Admiral. They're peaceful, creative, kind. They've never hurt anyone. The Kraith are going to destroy them simply because they can. Hana nodded slowly. Then we're coming. Tell the Velans to hold on. Tell them Earth is on the way. The communication ended. Taeyang turned back to the Velan Council. Every crystalline face was focused on him, their lights pulsing in anxious patterns. Well, Vishana asked, what did your leaders say? Taeyang smiled again, wider this time. They said they're coming. The human fleet is coming to help you. The old counselor's lights flickered in disbelief. One species? Against the entire Kraith Armada? Ambassador, we are grateful for the gesture, but surely your people understand this is suicide. The Kraith will destroy your fleet and then come for Earth next. Maybe, Taeyang admitted. But humans don't really think about odds when someone needs help. We just think about what's right. And leaving you to die alone? That's not right. In orbit above Pristinia, the Velen defense satellites tracked the Kraith fleet. 18 hours until they arrived. 18 hours until the killing began. But racing through hyperspace, moving faster than the Kraith had thought possible, the human fleet was already on its way. The Deathworlders had heard the call and they were coming.